Hello my dear friends and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Joy and today in this lecture we will discuss about the Gujarat Migrant Crisis. First of all, let us understand what is the current affair. The rape of a minor girl by a migrant worker triggered a mob attack against the migrant workers in Gujarat, and this has become an important news and therefore an important current affair. So this attack against the migrant workers in the state of Gujarat has necessitated the need to look into the internal migration policy in India. So in this context we will analyze the migrant crisis that is going on in the state of Gujarat. We will understand the background, what are the major impacts of this crisis in the state. We will also learn about the internal migration in brief, and we will discuss about the labor laws existing in the country, what are the challenges or concerns in this labor laws regarding the unemployment in India, and how mob lynching and politicization has affected this migrant workers, and also we will see some solutions in order to overcome this issue of migrants in India, especially in Gujarat. Now let us check the background of this migrant crisis in Gujarat. As we all know, Gujarat is a highly industrialized state. So this rapid industrialization of Gujarat has created many unskilled jobs in the state. And because of this high demand for unskilled laborers, workers from many other states including UP, Bihar, etc. reach Gujarat in search of job. And when we discussed about internal migration in India, we have learned that a majority of the migrants in India are highly unskilled, and that is one major challenge in finding a suitable employment which will give them decent wages. But here, in case of Gujarat, due to high industrialization, there is a huge demand for unskilled laborers. So even if you do not possess required skills, you will get an employment, and because of this factor it has attracted many migrants from other parts of the country, especially from UP and Bihar. So that is the first factor. Now coming to the unemployment rate in the state of Gujarat. The unemployment rate of Gujarat is high. What is the reason? Because of rapid industrialization, it has created many unskilled job vacancies, and many people from other parts of the country reach Gujarat in search of job. So these people needs to be paid lesser. So cheap labor is available from other parts of the country in Gujarat. So because of this reason, there is unemployment rate high in the state, and because of this high unemployment rate, the Gujarat government has decided to reserve 80% of the jobs in manufacturing and service sector to the workforce from the state itself. So 80% of jobs in the manufacturing as well as services sector has been reserved for residents of the state. Now the third factor is the violence after the rape incident. We have seen in the current affair, rape of a minor girl by a migrant worker has triggered a mob attack against the migrant workers. So after this violence, what we see in Gujarat is that migrant workers started leaving from Gujarat. And when these migrant workers leave from the state, many of the infrastructural works in the state are pending. Now there is a shortage of labor in order to complete this infrastructural work. These migrant workers were filling the labor gap, and now because of this violence and attack against these migrant workers, they are leaving the state, leaving many infrastructural works pending. Now let us check what are the major impacts of this issue. The first impact is on the internal migration. Secondly, the industry of the Gujarat is affected. Third one is the lack of labor laws. Fourth is the unemployment issue. Fifth one is the mob lynching. And the sixth is the politicization of the issue. We will see each one of them in detail. First, let us take internal migration in India. What is the major cause of internal migration in India? It is due to the uneven growth of different states. For example, let us take the state of Gujarat or other states like Kerala. They have higher rates of development, and because of this higher rates of development, they require more and cheap labor. So in order to fill this labor gaps, workers from other parts of the country migrate to these states like Gujarat, Kerala, etc. in search of job. So for example, let us take migrant workers from Bihar or from UP. If there was enough employment opportunities available in their own state, they would not have migrated. So because of an absence of opportunity for employment, they migrate to more developing states like Gujarat, Kerala, etc. So we can say that uneven growth of different states in the country is the primary cause of migration in India. And about 2 out of 10 Indians are internal migrants. So the internal migration rate in India is very high. 2 out of 10 migrate internally, that is within the country, from one state to another or from one place to another within the domestic territory of the country. Other contributing factors are marriage, employment opportunities, etc. They also contribute to migration of people from one part of the country to the other. And another major type of migration that is visible is rural to urban migration. People move from rural areas to urban areas in search of better living conditions or in search of better job opportunities. And this rural to urban migration has created the formation of slums in the urban areas. This has also contributed to the resource crunch, health and sanitation issues, etc. So altogether we can say that the workers live in a very pathetic situation due to high density of population in the urban areas, which is enhanced by internal migration. The living conditions of this migrant workers are very pathetic. Even the basic amenities are not provided to this migrant workers, and they also lose their political right, that is the right to vote. Because of improper documentation, they often miss the chance to vote. Now let us see how this issue has affected the state of Gujarat. We have seen after the violence against the migrants, many migrant workers are moving away from the state of Gujarat, and how this is going to impact the state of Gujarat. The first one is the Gujarat model of economic development. It has adopted a model of economic development through industrialization or through manufacturing and services. So under this Gujarat model of economic development, the manufacturing sector or the industrial sector requires huge number of unskilled cheap laborers, and this gap of this unskilled cheap laborers were met by the migrant workers from different parts of the country. Now, as they have started going back to their home state, what has happened? There is a vacuum for the laborers in the manufacturing or the industrial sector. So it affected the Gujarat model of economic development. Secondly, the small and the medium industries in the state, they were highly dependent on cheap laborers from the Gangetic plain. Now the small and medium industries do not get cheap labor. So what will happen? The cost of production will increase. The labor cost will increase, and therefore the cost of production will increase. And with an increase in the cost of production, the small and medium industries will collapse. Remember, for the small and medium industries, already the demonetization and the implementation of GST had created a disruption, and now the third one is the migrant crisis in Gujarat. So the small and medium industries will also be affected. And thirdly is the infrastructure of Gujarat. Many works of buildings, bridges, roads, etc. got stopped after this migrant crisis, because this migrants started moving back to their home state, and there is unavailability of cheap unskilled labor in the state of Gujarat, and therefore the infrastructure works of the state also got stopped. Now let us analyze the lack of labor laws. A majority of the migrant workers are coming from the states of Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, UP and Bihar. And this migrant workers, they work mainly at construction, embroidery, diamond cutting, textile industries, etc. And in case of Gujarat and in case of other states also, there is no proper documentation of this migrant workers. And because of this, the employers, they are highly exploiting this situation, and labor laws are not followed by the employers. These migrant workers from other parts of the country, they are not getting adequate wages. So the wages that they earn, it is merely to meet the consumption expenditure of the migrant workers. And we can say that there is no change in the social status of the migrant workers, because they are paid minimum wages, and these wages are used only to meet the consumption expenditure. So there is no change in the social status of this migrant workers. And also this migrant workers work in risky jobs, for example construction. But even though they work at risky jobs, they have no insurance or health facilities, and the conditions of work at the workplace are very hazardous. So they do not have any proper insurance or health facilities as well. And there were two legislations related to this. One was the Interstate Migrant Workman Act of 1979. And the second one is Unorganized Workers Social Security Act of 2008. Now let us check the status of unemployment in India. Unemployment among the educated youth in India is 16%. And India is going through a phase of jobless growth. What is meant by jobless growth? It means that the higher growth rate cannot be translated to jobs. So, the proportion of growth rate or economic growth and the proportion of employment growth are not equal. So, there is a mismatch between the economic growth of the country and job creation in the country, and this is called jobless growth. A 10% of increase in the GDP results only in 1% in employment growth. So, if the growth in GDP and the growth in employment is proportional, it is ideal for an economy. But in case of India, 10% of GDP growth contributes to only 1% of employment growth. And this is jobless growth. And as the income from the agricultural sector declined, people started migrating from rural areas to the urban areas for jobs. And that is one reason. Agrarian distress is one reason for rural-urban migration. And secondly, the northern states of the country, the North Indian states, they are mostly affected due to this rural wage growth which collapsed in 2014. It means that there is an increase in the contract works. So, when the number of contract works increases, this will lower the wages. In this regard, even though the labor productivity has increased, the labor wages has not increased in the last decades. So, this resulted into the depressed class people and the women working at low payments. So, this is a major concern. So, under the unemployment rate in India, the first concern is regarding the unemployment rate of educated Indians, that is 16%, which is alarming. Second one is agrarian distress. The third one is jobless growth. The fourth one is increase in the number of contract workers. And the fifth one is disproportionate growth of productivity and the wages. Next, let us check mob lynching. In the recent case of rape of a minor child in Gujarat also, we have seen the migrants were receiving a lot of violence associated with it. So, migrants are also vulnerable to mob lynching. Next is the politicization of the issue. Decline in the agricultural income and also unemployment has created unrest among some agricultural communities in India like the Jats, Patels, Marathas, etc. So, these communities, they have started playing vote bank politics and they have become pressure groups. So, pressure groups mainly means those groups of people who can influence a political party or can influence a political decision. So, they have become a pressure group and the son of soil mentality is used by these groups. Now, let us see what are the solutions for these issues. The first one is uniform growth rate. We have seen that internal migration, one major cause is uneven growth rate of different states of the country. So, internal migration can be reduced by having a uniform growth rate all over India. The rural as well as urban areas should have all infrastructural facilities like electricity, transportation, schools, hospitals, etc. So, this can be one solution. Secondly, the unemployment issue needs to be addressed, and for that various schemes can be implemented like Startup India, Stand Up India, Mudra Yojana. So, all these schemes, if properly implemented, will reduce the rate of unemployment in the country. Thirdly, skill development has to be provided for the rural youth. This can be done through the proper implementation of Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. So, better skills means better employment opportunities, better income, the standard of living will increase. And proper awareness programs needs to be implemented in order to reduce mob lynching and violence against the migrants. Also, the issues of migrant workers can be addressed with strict labor laws, and the implementation of these laws are very important. And finally, proper documentation of the migrant workers will help in reducing the crime against this migrant workers, and this will also increase the security of this migrant workers. You can find the PDF of this lecture on my Facebook page. I wish you all a very good day. Thank you.